From collector, how do you separate something that is going to be around for a long time and be collectible for a long time versus something that's just hype today?
Well, again, I think it has to do with our, with our young people, with the kids. What do they love? Because collecting is retrieving memories, and the better the memories, the better the item's going to do in the future. I think a good example outside of that is the 1990s Beanie Babies. That was all of our mothers, and little kids didn't collect their Beanie Baby. I might have a few, right? But two things that went wrong since I mentioned Beanie Babies is, number one, the disreputable ownership of that company, because as soon as something did great, they would print, get all the money as fast as possible. Even with like the Princess Diana, beanies, which were valuable in that, the fella did the same thing with that. But now we're talking about, adult collecting, in that if they were things that were around or of interest to us as kids, those things are safe.
Do you ever think Beanie Babies will be worth money in the future?
Never. It never deserved to be. And it's all because of the ownership. Beanie Babies could have been, real close to on par with Pokemon. They really could have been, because it was a terrific idea. Just little stuffed animals are a tremendous thing for kids and everybody. Little ones that are collectible was a tremendous idea, unless you're a greedy owner of it, like the fellow was. And I mean, he didn't care that you pay, $2,500 for a Princess Di beanie, and then, the prize of your collection, you love it, you talk about it, you splash photos everywhere, and then all of a sudden he does another 1,000 of them. That takes your $2,500, way down. Pokemon never did anything like that. They never reprinted. Some of these modern sets they're starting to reprint because of the scalper situations in that, because they want the kids to get them in their hands, for a reasonable, price. But I mean, they never did anything like that. So
we asked you 5.5 years ago when was a good time to buy, and you said, wait 2 years. What's your answer today? Because Pokemon saw that huge swing up. Yes. Should you wait to buy?
Well, I would certainly wait until after halfway through 2027. And that's so for the next year, there's going to be enormous, buzz and everything over the 30-year, anniversary. That's going to attract a lot. So right now, I think things are overpriced. I think that's going to continue, for the next year. I don't think the availability is really that far off. It doesn't really match to me. I think if you wait a year, wait until summer 2027, put those dollars, aside, get your 10%, and then you're going to use those dollars in a year, something like that I would do.
Got it. Well, in terms of grading, I'm really curious, since you helped grade 76 of the last 126 PSA 10 first edition base set Charizards, what was it like in the early days? Because I did hear that it was easier to grade a 10 back then than it is today.
Yeah, there's so much going on with PSA. I can tell you, I never spent more than $7 to grade a card. All my PSA 10 first edition base Charizards, $7 to grade. Every single, I can even show you this. I don't know if they show prices, but I can show you all my submissions going back for years, and it's thousands and thousands and thousands of cards. I never paid over $7 for one grade until a year ago, where I sent some in, went through this upcharge thing they have, and ended up having to pay hundreds more in that. So that was very fortunate. I was able to grade a ton of cards you wouldn't grade today because price in bulk is prohibitive, It's so high.
What do you think is the difference between a lot of the grading companies? Because we see PSA, BGS, we see CGC, TAG. Walk us through like what the differences are between these, and like what is one better than another? Because I see honestly CGC getting significantly less for the same card than something like PSA.
CGC, I have a soft place in my heart for. They helped me with some charity stuff I was doing. And when they didn't have to, when I feel they were more of a benefit to our charity than I was to them in that. Matt Flynn, I mean, he was just, so nice to me, because yes, for him, he would get the cards with their title on. He had Collecticon put on the back, and I would give them away to all the kids at Collecticons, gave away thousands of them, right? But he never charged me a nickel for any of them because he was interested in autism charities and that. And so what PSA has been going through, I would not grade a card through PSA anymore. I just wouldn't, not until they make a change. Can you imagine you have let's say you get the Magic the Gathering cards or you get, these other Pokemon cards that you love, and you send them in and you're so excited to get the cards back. And 6 months later, you still don't have them. I mean, I've sent things in where I can't even remember what I sent in. Well, what fun is that? The anticipation of the grade, and that is the fun part. I would not grade a card through PSA. And not only that, but on, I'm going to say with confidence, now I wouldn't do this because of my age, but with confidence, I can say that if they turned it over to me within 4 months, I would have the turnaround time down to 30 days, and I would have the price per card for bulk back down to $15. I say that with confidence that I personally could do that. Would that affect the bottom line? Yeah, it would affect the bottom line some, but long term, you can't always think short term. Long term, it would pay off. But I honestly believe that I could do that.
But why do you see such variance between the same card between two grading companies? Like I see a CGC PSA 10 Charizard selling for $100,000, but the PSA one is like $250,000.
Yeah, it's the reputation. PSA is the for resellers. That's where the bucks are. Is it always going to be that way? Not if they keep doing what they're doing. They're really, and I guess they purchased Beckett and they purchased SGC. Unless they make a change, that's all going to change. And what I think CGC, I think, is a nice alternative. The best alternative, I think, is tag. You can't be more transparent than scanning cards and putting them on your website in that. Plus, the guys, again, with my heart, I love the guys that are running tag, especially Jesse and CJ in Canada. I mean, tremendous people, great ideas, really, really, really care about Pokemon and care about the hobby. Tag is growing and it'll continue to grow, but I think that transparency is huge.
When do you recommend grading a card? And if you are going to recommend any card company, I'm guessing it would be Tag.
I sent in some cards to Tag for the first time, showing that I really care about this, because I know within 30, 40 days, I'm going to get those cards back. And I know every single card I sent in, I'm so happy about, nothing major, just fun stuff. I would definitely recommend Tag today, and PSA better make a change. Otherwise, if I had money in PSA, it would be out today.
How do you know when to grade a card?
Well, I guess it's what you're grading it for. If you're grading it for resale, then the sooner the better, because I believe we're at a pretty good high in the market right now. The problem is you do it now, 6 months from now, they could be, much lower, and now you're losing money because of grading time. Now, if you're a collector I think any time is good, because if you're trying to complete a set, to Japanese base set to put on the wall or something, you can wait. You can wait for that. So so it really depends on what you're doing it for.
One thing I brought up to Logan when we had him on the podcast was regrading, because I see a lot of videos pop up in my feed of someone receiving a card. They're like a regrading artist, and they get the card, they like push the sides down, they clamp it, they even can like paint on the card sometimes. And I think to myself, why do I not invest in a PSA 7, PSA 6, and then just wait for the card repair to get involved with AI or whatever it is that takes it to the next level, hold on to this card until card repair becomes immaculate, and then just get it regraded as a PSA 10 and sell it then?
The most I ever did with cards, many times in binders, cards are curved, right? And I would put those cards between glass in that and leave them there for a couple of weeks, so they would flatten out. Then I could put them back in the binder and they wouldn't be, curved in that. So I used to call those two pieces of glass my Pokemon hospital, which is kind of like altering cards, right? But when I got them, when I pulled them, they were flat, then put them in a binder. For some reason, the hollows curve, put them back to curve. But with what they're doing now, my concern is it long term? You can fix those sides. I've seen these for 3 decades. What's happened to these cards? The curve comes back, or maybe the correction they're making comes back, or the painting that they're doing that matches the paint can be determined, or in the future may be able to be determined, with a special light or something.